Hello, and welcome to week 3 of Launching Your Nonprofit course. In this week, we will be discussing building your board and operations. And just to do a recap, last week we covered the legal foundations of nonprofits, including how to register and remain compliant. And today we'll focus on building a strong board and structuring your nonprofit for success. So, your nonprofit board members will shape your organization's future, but you, as the founder, you can set up your bylaws of how you want your nonprofit to be structured. Now, their responsibilities as a board include setting strategic goals, overseeing finances, and ensuring compliance and ethical operations. So your board members have expectations and you set that up as the founder, or if you get someone else or pay someone else to set that up. But they do have responsibilities and expectations and also legal obligations that you put in place. So a strong board is the key to success. And we'll discuss how to identify the right board members and define roles and keep them engaged with your mission. But choosing the right board members is crucial because you want to look for individuals who bring expertise in finance, law, fundraising, or nonprofit management. In the beginning, that was one of my major mistakes where I just had anyone, cousins, friends, anyone, like, listen, I need board members. And they didn't bring any value or expertise to the board. You also want to set clear expectations and encourage engagement through structured meetings and committee roles. If you just want to do virtual once a month, if you want to do or create a committee. All nonprofits don't have a committee, but if that's something that you want for your nonprofit, you structure that. We meet once a month virtually because that best fits the board members for my nonprofit. So you want to build a board that supports your nonprofit growth. And you also want to have a diverse board. So look in your local community to find the right board members, create an application process or interview process to recruit and retain board members. Put in like we have that they have to give a donation or they have to serve time in one of our programs throughout the year. They have to dedicate at least 1 year commitment of being on the board. You can do 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. Even though it's a volunteer position, it's not a paid position, but you want to just have that in place as you structure your nonprofit. Now, from executive to directors to committee heads, leadership roles help define your nonprofit's function. So having clear job descriptions and expectations for each role is crucial for smooth operations. I know in the beginning, I didn't have defined roles. I was like, hey, you just do this. But it's important to have those roles. Who is your treasurer? Who is your secretary? Who is your executive director? Is that director a volunteer or paid position? Or are you the director with a paid position once you get funding rolling in? The volunteers. So you have to have those roles with the clear expectations so roles don't cross. Everyone knows what they're doing and their duties. Your nonprofit should have clear leadership roles. The executive director, they manage the daily operations. Then you have your board chair who provides strategic leadership. You have the treasurer who oversees the financial health, and your secretary takes meeting notes, maintain records, and your compliance documents. Assigning clear responsibilities helps keep operations smooth and effective. Now, what if you don't have all this in place? Well, you may have to do it yourself or get volunteers to assist you in setting this up in the beginning. You may just be in the beginning, have many hats, many roles, but as you structure it over time, you can begin to delegate these duties to other members of your nonprofit. So, creating effective policies and procedures, it's important to have well-defined policies because that help prevent disputes and provide clear guidelines for conflict resolution. So, we'll explore some key policies every nonprofit should have. So, your nonprofit must establish operational policies such as conflict of interest that ensures ethical decision making. Then your financial policies that defines budgeting and reporting practices. And then you have your volunteer and staff guidelines that set expectations for day-to-day operations. These policies create accountability and consistency in your organization. So, right off, these are the first policies and procedures that you need to create or hire someone to create for your nonprofit. So, when you have well defined policies, it helps prevent disputes. And so, it's important to have these policies and procedures in place. So, in this week's homework, you will draft your organizational chart. So, your organizational chart, you know how every job you have, like who is the director, who's up after the director, do you have assistant director, then your executive director, secretary, treasurer, and go all the way down to volunteers or whoever in the hierarchy of you developing your organizational chart. So that is your homework to draft an organizational chart for your nonprofit, define your board roles, your leadership, and your key responsibilities for those positions. And I'll post that in the Google Classroom so that you'll have your homework for this week. Now, going into details of some of those policies, I mentioned about that conflict of interest policy. So you make sure you need to have that in place, that conflict of interest policy. That's making sure that if a family member was a part of your nonprofit, then you'll have things in place on what to do when you have conflict of interest. Now, that's it for this week. Your homework is to refine your board members list and governance structure. Next week, we'll dive into fundraising and budgeting. But I know one question that I got about common challenges in nonprofit leadership, because when you have a board and you are the executive director or you're the founder, yes, you're going to run into challenges. You're going to run into disagreements because you, as a founder, are passionate about the services and programs that you want to implement. And as you bring on board members and their expertise, they may disagree. They may look at things in a different point of view, but as a board, you have to put in structure how you're going to vote. How are you going to vote within that board? You need to have your voting policies in there as well. And I'll put that in the Google Classroom, how we use the voting method for our nonprofit. So that is it for this week. I hope you have a blessed day. And if you have questions, remember to post them in a Google Classroom, or you can post them on this video. Take care, stay safe.